6 months after what historians would later call the Hansen incident, Lily Hansen sat in a hospital bed on Earth, watching birds outside her window. The doctor said she would make a full recovery, though the scar across her torso would always remain. She didn't mind the scar much. Her dad said it showed how brave she was. The door opened, and Commander Allison Wright entered, now wearing the uniform of an admiral. "Hello, Lily," she said with a warm smile. "How are you feeling today?" "Better," Lily replied. "Mom says I can go home next week." Allison sat beside the bed. "That's wonderful news. I brought you something." She handed Lily a small box containing a medal, a silver star on a blue ribbon. "This is from Earth's leaders. For your courage." Lily touched the medal gently. "I wasn't trying to be brave. I was just scared. Sometimes that's when we're bravest of all." Allison looked out the window at the peaceful scene. Few on Earth would guess that across the galaxy, everything had changed. The Draconian Empire had collapsed within weeks of the battle at the horizon. Not because Earth had destroyed their fleets, though they could have, but because the broadcast of Lily's injury and Earth's response had ignited rebellions across every conquered world. Species that had lived in fear for generations suddenly saw hope. If humans would go to war to protect one child, perhaps they would help others find freedom too. High Commander Zell Vaker had been captured trying to flee to the outer systems. He now awaited trial for war crimes before a galactic tribunal, along with the soldier who had struck Lily and the officers who had ordered it. In the hospital's waiting area, Greg and Kate Hansen spoke with Admiral Winters. "The doctors say she'll be running and playing again soon," Kate said, still amazed by her daughter's recovery. "She's strong, like her parents," Winters replied. "How are you both holding up?" Greg sighed, still processing everything. 1 minute we're colonists heading for a new life, and the next we're at the center of an interstellar war. "Not a war," Winters corrected. "A reckoning." The Draconians had to learn that some lines cannot be crossed. On the former Draconian homeworld, Dr. Olivia Martinez supervised humanitarian aid distribution. The common Draconians had suffered under their military leadership almost as much as conquered species had. Many were now working alongside humans and other aliens to build a more just society. Dr. Martinez called a young Draconian, one of her assistants. "The last refugee camp has received their supplies. Excellent, Trelvik. And the school. Construction is ahead of schedule. The children will have classrooms next month." Martinez nodded with satisfaction. This was the true victory, not destruction, but rebuilding. The war had been won with minimal casualties because Earth had planned so carefully and struck so precisely. In Earth's new embassy on the former Draconian capital, representatives from 26 previously subjugated species gathered to sign the Lily Hansen Accords, a treaty establishing protections for civilians, especially children, during conflicts. "The humans could have destroyed us all," said the Narration ambassador to the gathered delegates. "Instead, they chose justice with mercy. They fought not for conquest, but for a child. We would be wise to learn from them." 3 years later, a fully recovered Lily Hansen stood at the observation deck of Earth's diplomatic station, watching ships from dozens of worlds come and go in peaceful trade. At 12 years old, she had become a symbol without trying, the child whose suffering had changed the galaxy. Admiral Wright found her there, gazing at the stars. "Thinking big thoughts?" she asked. Lily smiled, just wondering what's next. "Dad says I could be a diplomat when I grow up." "You'd be an excellent one," Wright agreed. "The best diplomats help others understand each other." "Is that why you fought for me? To make the Draconians understand us?" Wright considered this, partly, but mostly because that's what humans do. "We protect our children, whatever the cost." She looked out at the stars alongside Lily. "And now the galaxy understands that about us, which makes everyone safer." Lily nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the scar beneath her shirt, a reminder of the day when an empire that ruled through fear learned about love and the wrath it could unleash. Major Cole's team reached the medical bay first. The door slid open to reveal Kate Hansen standing protectively over her daughter, a surgical tool gripped in her hand like a weapon. "Earth Defense Fleet," Cole said quickly, removing his helmet. "We're here to help." Kate's shoulders sagged with relief. "My daughter needs emergency medical care. She's critical." Two team members immediately moved to Lily's side, unpacking advanced medical equipment from their backpacks. One of them, a combat medic named Jason Reeves, began scanning Lily's injuries. "She's hanging in there," he said. "Tough kid. We need to stabilize her for transport." Commander Wright entered next, going straight to Kate. "We're getting all of you out. The Princeton has a full medical bay ready for Lily." "My husband," Kate began. "We're looking for him now," Allison assured her. "Where was he last?" "He went to try accessing the ship's systems, said he might be able to help from the inside." Allison nodded and spoke into her communicator. "All teams, we're looking for Greg Hansen, male engineer, likely near data access points or maintenance tunnels." Throughout the horizon, more Earth Special Forces teams moved efficiently, freeing colonists and crew from draconian custody. The aliens, trained to inspire fear, seemed unprepared when faced with humans who showed none. On the Princeton, Admiral Winters watched the rescue operation progress. "Status on the Hansen child." "Extraction team has reached her, sir, preparing for emergency transport." "And the Draconians?" "Still scrambling to respond. Their command structure seems to be breaking down." Winters nodded. "Begin Phase 3. Broadcast the message to all frequencies, all languages." Across the sector, on every communication channel, a simple video began playing on repeat. It showed the Draconian soldier striking Lily Hansen, followed by images of Earth's military response. The message was clear. This is what happens when you harm human children. On dozens of worlds under Draconian rule, subject species watched in stunned silence. Many had suffered for years, believing the Draconians invincible. Now they saw them helpless against human fury. Inside a maintenance shaft on the horizon, Greg Hansen heard footsteps approaching. He gripped his makeshift weapon, a broken pipe, ready to fight. "Greg Hansen," called a voice. "Earth Defense Fleet. We're getting you out of here." Greg lowered the pipe as two soldiers came into view. "My wife and daughter. Already being evacuated. Your daughter is receiving medical treatment." Tears of relief filled Greg's eyes. "Will she be okay?" The soldier nodded. "Earth's best doctors are waiting. But we need to move now." In his command ship, High Commander Zell Vakir watched with growing rage as his forces proved ineffective against the human assault. The humans weren't just winning. They were doing so with minimal casualties on either side. It was a display of precision and restraint that demonstrated their true power more effectively than any massacre could have. "Launch all fighter squadrons," he ordered. "Target their medical ships." Sub-Commander Nexel stepped forward. "Sir, that would violate galactic conventions on medical." "Do it," Zell Vakir roared. "Show them what happens when they challenge the Draconian Empire." But as the fighter squadrons prepared to launch, something unprecedented happened. 6 Earth vessels that had remained in reserve suddenly activated previously hidden weapon systems. Beams of concentrated energy struck the Draconian hangar bays with surgical precision, melting launch mechanisms without breaching the hull. "High Commander," reported a terrified officer. "The humans have weapons technology we've never seen before. Our fighters cannot launch." On the Swift Messenger, Commander Wright supervised the evacuation of the last colonists. Medics had moved Lily to an emergency transport shuttle headed for the Princeton's advanced medical facilities. Kate and Greg had been reunited and were accompanying their daughter. As Wright prepared to withdraw her teams, she received an urgent message from Admiral Winters. "Commander, the Draconians are attempting to target our medical vessels. Phase 4 is now authorized." Wright's expression hardened. Targeting medical ships was another line the Draconians shouldn't have crossed. "Understood, Admiral." moving our people to safe distance. Throughout the sector, more Earth ships emerged from hiding places where they had waited, in some cases for years. The trap was fully sprung, and the Draconian Empire was about to learn the true cost of harming a human child. Exactly. The Draconians wanted to teach us about fear. Allison checked her own weapon. Time for their first lesson about humans. On the horizon, Greg Hansen had made a breakthrough. Using the data port he'd found, he managed to access the Draconian ship's environmental controls. It wasn't much, but it was something he could use. "I hope this works," he muttered, inputting a series of commands. Throughout the Draconian boarding ships, life support systems began to malfunction, creating confusion but no real danger. It was the distraction the humans needed. In the medical bay, Kate Hansen cradled her daughter's hand. Lily's condition had stabilized slightly, but she remained unconscious. The wound across her torso was bandaged, but infection had set in. Without proper medical care, the prognosis was grim. A soft thud made Kate look up. Through the viewport, she saw something impossible: human military vessels, dozens of them, surrounding the Draconian ships. Earth had come, and not the small defensive fleet the world showed to the galaxy, but something much more substantial. "Hold on, Lily," she whispered. "Help is here." The battle began with surgical precision. 3 Earth destroyers fired specially designed electromagnetic pulses that disabled the Draconian ship's weapon systems without harming their life support. Before the aliens could respond, 2 smaller vessels detached from the Princeton and headed for the horizon. Inside the colony ship, the Draconian guards were thrown into confusion as their communications failed and strange malfunctions plagued their equipment. They never saw the human Special Forces team enter through a maintenance airlock. Major Cole's team moved silently through the ship, neutralizing Draconian guards with stun weapons. They encountered minimal resistance. The aliens had never expected to be boarded themselves. On the Draconian command ship, High Commander Zell Vakir finally received the alarming reports. "How is this possible?" he raged. "The humans are primitive. Their technology is inferior." Sub-Commander Nexel's voice was quiet but clear. "We were wrong, Commander. They deceived us." Outside, more Earth vessels appeared, revealing capabilities the Draconians had never suspected. The humans hadn't just prepared for this day. They had planned for it meticulously, hiding their true strength until the perfect moment. And that moment had arrived when a Draconian soldier harmed a human child. The first sign that something was wrong came when 3 Draconian patrol ships simply disappeared from their scanners. One moment they were there, maintaining the perimeter around the captured horizon, and the next they were gone. No distress signals, no debris, just gone. "Report," demanded Officer Krell from the Draconian command ship. "Unknown, sir," replied a nervous technician. "We've lost contact with all 3 vessels simultaneously. Sensor malfunction. Reset the system." "System has been reset twice, sir. They're just not there anymore." Inside his private chamber, Sub-Commander Nexel reviewed Dr. Martinez's diplomatic file. Something about the human response bothered him deeply. Their anger seemed too controlled, their demands too precise. It was as if they had prepared for this exact scenario. His thoughts were interrupted by a ship-wide alarm. On the bridge, chaos erupted as sensors detected multiple new contacts appearing from nowhere. "Impossible," gasped a Draconian officer. "There are 11. No, 14 human warships surrounding us." "That cannot be," Krell snarled. "Earth has only 6 combat vessels, all outdated and weak." The communication system activated without their control. A human voice filled the Draconian command ship. "This is Admiral John Winters of Earth Defense Fleet. Your patrol vessels have been neutralized without casualties. They are secure in our holding bays. You are now surrounded by 14 Earth warships, with 12 more approaching. Release the human colonists immediately." On the lead Earth destroyer Princeton, Admiral Winters stood calmly on the bridge. The first phase of Protocol Nemesis had worked perfectly. The Draconians had never suspected that Earth's supposedly primitive stealth technology was actually decades ahead of their own. "No response from the Draconians yet, sir," reported his communications officer. "They're in shock," Winters said. "Continue the countdown for Phase 2. Commander Wright's team moves in 5 minutes. Aboard the Swift Messenger, Allison Wright and her extraction team prepared for their mission. 20 Special Forces soldiers in advanced combat suits stood ready in the deployment bay. "Our priority is the medical bay," Allison reminded them. "The Hansen child and her mother must be secured first, followed by as many colonists as we can extract before the main engagement begins." "Yes, Commander," said Major Ryan Cole, the team leader. "Minimal casualties on both sides if possible, but the girl comes first." High Commander Zellweger laughed when he received Earth's ultimatum. The human demand for surrender, delivered by Commander Wright, struck him as both amusing and pathetic. "They speak as if they have power," he told his officers, "as if their tiny fleet could challenge the might of our empire." Sub-Commander Nexel seemed less certain. The humans responded more aggressively than expected. Perhaps the child held special status. "All species care for their young." Zellweger dismissed the concern. "But they learn to fear us more than they love their children. The humans will be no different." He sent his reply to Earth. Complete rejection of all demands, with a warning that any military action would result in the immediate execution of all Horizon passengers. In a hidden facility, deep beneath Earth's Pacific Ocean, Admiral Winters reviewed the Draconian response with his senior staff. "They've rejected our terms," he announced. "Protocol Nemesis is now fully activated." General Lisa Ortiz, commander of Earth's Special Forces, stepped forward. "My teams are ready. The extraction specialists will move first, followed by strike teams." "What about the Draconian threat to execute the colonists?" asked Secretary Ellis. Dr. Martinez answered, "They won't kill valuable hostages immediately. The Draconians view humans as potential slaves or research subjects. They'll threaten, but won't destroy that value without extreme provocation." Admiral Winters nodded. "That gives us our window. Phase 1 begins now." On the horizon, Greg Hansen crawled through a narrow maintenance tunnel, careful to avoid detection. After the Draconians had taken most crew members to holding cells, he had discovered something important. The Draconian boarding ships connected to the horizon through airlock systems that weren't fully compatible. The connection created small gaps in their security network. Greg was no soldier, but before becoming a colony engineer, he had worked in Earth's cybersecurity division. Now he used those skills to access a small data port where the systems overlapped. "Let's see what I can find," he whispered to himself, connecting a small device to the port. To his surprise, the Draconian system architecture wasn't as alien as he expected. Different, yes, but with recognizable patterns. In the medical bay, Kate struggled to keep Lily stable. The girl's breathing had grown shallow, her small face pale against the medical bed. "You need to fight, sweetie," Kate said, holding her daughter's hand. "Help is coming, I promise." A soft alarm on one of the monitors made Kate's heart sink. Lily's organs were beginning to fail. Without advanced medical intervention, she had hours, not days. Light years away, across what humans call the Orion Arm, 3 alien ambassadors met in secret with Earth representatives. All 3 species, the Lyricians, Vex, and Eridani, had suffered under Draconian expansion. "You hid your true capabilities even from allies," said the Lyrician ambassador, his translucent skin showing swirling patterns of concern. "We had to," replied Earth's diplomat, Paul Novak, "until we knew who to trust." "And now you go to war over one child?" asked the Vex representative. Novak's face hardened. "That child has a name. Lily Hansen. And yes, we go to war because the Draconians must learn that harming our children has consequences no species can bear." The Eridani ambassador, eldest of the 3, leaned forward. "We have monitored your communications. Your military vessels are already moving. Hidden ships emerging from camouflage positions we never detected. How long have you prepared for this? Since we first learned of the Draconians' methods. 26 years. The three aliens exchanged glances. We will provide intelligence and supply support, the Narration decided, but not direct military aid. Yet. In the darkness of space, 12 Earth vessels previously disguised as small trading ships or research stations shed their false exteriors. The destroyers Princeton and Valiant, running without lights or active signals, slipped closer to the Draconian position around the horizon. Commander Wright received encrypted coordinates from these ships. The plan was taking shape. A daring rescue operation followed by the first strike of what might become a devastating war. She looked at the final image from the horizon. Lily Hansen's small face, innocent and wounded. The Draconians had meant the child's pain to instill fear. Instead, it had ignited something far more dangerous. Earth was coming, and it was bringing its full fury with it. Admiral John Winters watched the recording for the third time, his face a mask of controlled fury. The Draconian soldier striking down 8-year-old Lily Hansen played again on the screen in Earth Defense Headquarters' main situation room. "Turn it off," he finally said. The room fell silent as 24 military and civilian leaders looked to him. "How is the child?" "Alive, but critical," reported Dr. Samantha Cole, the medical liaison. Her mother, Kate Hansen, was revived from cryosleep and is treating her with the ship's limited medical supplies. She's a trained medic, which may have saved the girl's life. The president's representative, Alan Powell, spoke next. "The public doesn't know yet, but once this gets out, there will be no containing it," said Admiral Winters. "Nor should there be. We need to consider our response carefully," cautioned Defense Secretary Victoria Ellis. "The Draconians have superior firepower." A woman sitting quietly at the end of the table finally spoke. "No, they don't." All eyes turned to Dr. Olivia Martinez, Earth's leading genopsychologist. "Explain," ordered Admiral Winters. "The Draconians believe they have superior firepower because that's what we've allowed them to believe." Martinez stood and approached the central display. "For 20 years, we've presented ourselves as a minor power while building our real capabilities in secret. The Draconians have fallen for the deception completely." Secretary Ellis frowned. "How can you be so certain?" "Because they harmed a human child while broadcasting it." Martinez replied simply. "No species that truly understood humans would ever do that. They've just made the most catastrophic miscalculation in their history." On the horizon, Kate Hansen worked desperately to save her daughter. The ship's medical bay wasn't designed for trauma care, but Kate's military medical training was proving invaluable. "Stay with me, Lily," she whispered, attaching another blood transfusion. The Draconian weapon had caused a deep laceration across Lily's torso. Without advanced medical equipment, Kate was fighting a losing battle. Greg Hansen burst into the medical bay, his face bloody from resisting the Draconians. 2 crew members had helped him escape temporary detention. "How is she?" he asked, rushing to Lily's side. "I stopped the bleeding, but she needs surgery." Kate fought to keep her voice steady. "She needs a real hospital, Greg." In another section of the ship, Captain Simmons faced the Draconian officer Krell. "Your soldier attacked a child," she said, her voice shaking with rage. "A child who posed no threat." "Obedience must be immediate and complete," Krell replied coldly. The lesson was necessary. "They're monsters," whispered Communications Officer Reeves. On the Swift Messenger, Commander Allison Wright sat in stunned silence. After witnessing Lily's attack, she had been escorted back to her ship with a final message. The horizon and all its passengers were now property of the Draconian Empire. Her communications officer approached cautiously. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth." Admiral Winters himself. The Admiral's face appeared on her screen, grim and determined. "Commander Wright, I'm initiating Protocol Nemesis, effective immediately." Allison's eyes widened. Protocol Mimesis was a contingency plan she had helped develop but hoped would never be used. Understood, sir. Timeline. You have 18 hours to extract as many survivors as possible from the horizon. Focus on the injured child and her family. The rest begins in 48 hours. The Draconians have the horizon surrounded. Extraction will be difficult. You'll have help. The Princeton and Valiant are already en route, running dark. They'll reach you in 12 hours. Allison was stunned. Those were advanced stealth destroyers, ships the Draconians didn't even know existed. Sir, once we reveal those capabilities. The time for hiding is over, Commander. They've harmed a human child and broadcasted as policy. Admiral Winters leaned closer to the screen. Do you know what's happening right now on Earth? Every military reserve has voluntarily reported for duty. Defense contractors are running factories at triple shifts. 3 alien species who previously declined military alliances have contacted us offering support. All because of what happened to Lily, Allison said quietly. The Draconians rule through fear, Commander. They just learned the hard way what humans do when we're truly angry. Give them this message. They have 48 hours to release all humans, surrender those responsible for harming the child, and withdraw from the sector completely. And if they refuse, then Earth goes to war. As Captain Simmons led the Draconians away, Greg rushed back to check on the family quarters. The power fluctuations worried him. When he reached their cabin, alarms were blaring from Lily's pod. No, he muttered, checking the readouts. The system was initiating an emergency revival. The pod had detected dangerous conditions and was waking Lily to prevent harm. The clear cover slid open as Lily began to stir. Her small body shivered as consciousness returned. Daddy? She mumbled, eyes fluttering open. I'm here, sweetheart, Greg said, wrapping her in a thermal blanket. Everything's okay. Where's Mommy? Why is it so cold? Before Greg could answer, 2 Draconian soldiers appeared at the door. What is happening here? One demanded. All humans were ordered to remain in the central area. Please, Greg said, stepping in front of Lily. The power reduction affected her cryopod. She's just a child. I need to get her to the medical bay. The soldiers raised their weapons. Return to the central area immediately. On the Draconian command ship, the negotiations were deteriorating. Sub-Commander Nexel had just received reports from the boarding party. Your people are not complying with instructions, he told Allison coldly. And we have detected encrypted communications from your vessel to Earth. Standard diplomatic protocols, Allison explained. Nothing threatening. We will determine that. Nexel activated a large view screen. Perhaps seeing your colonists will encourage honesty. The screen showed the horizon's interior. Allison recognized Captain Simmons and the crew surrounded by armed Draconians. Then the view shifted to a family cabin where 2 soldiers confronted a man protecting a small, frightened girl. That's a child, Allison said, tension rising in her voice. She needs medical attention. Nexel ignored her, speaking instead to the soldiers through his communicator. The man is being difficult. He refuses to leave the child, came the reply. Then make an example. Show them what happens to those who do not immediately obey. No, Allison protested. She's an innocent child. What happened next occurred in terrible slow motion. One soldier seized Greg, forcing him to his knees. The other approached Lily, who was crying now, clutching her stuffed dolphin. Stop this, Allison shouted. The soldier raised his weapon, then swung it down. The scream that followed would haunt Allison forever. On the view screen, Lily crumpled to the floor, a gash across her small body. The soldier turned to the camera, speaking directly to all watching. This is Draconian justice. Fear is the only language lesser species understand. Allison stared in horror, knowing that this transmission was now being received not just on her ship, but on Earth as well. The Draconians had just crossed a line from which there would be no return. Commander Allison Wright stood tall as she entered the Draconian command ship. 2 armed guards flanked her, but she had come alone as requested. The air inside was warmer and drier than humans preferred, with a faint scent like burnt cinnamon. Sub-Commander Nexel waited in the meeting chamber, his scaled skin gleaming under the harsh lights. "Commander Wright," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "You claim this intrusion was accidental." "It was," Allison confirmed. "The Horizon is a civilian colony ship carrying families. They experienced a navigation malfunction." Nexel's vertical pupils narrowed. "A convenient explanation. Our intelligence suggests humans are expanding their territory. Perhaps this accident was reconnaissance." "That's incorrect." Allison kept her voice firm but respectful. "Earth has no interest in this sector. We request safe passage for the Horizon to return to human space." "Impossible. The vessel must be searched and all data systems examined. If we find no evidence of espionage, the humans may be permitted to leave. Eventually." On the Horizon, Greg Hansen worked frantically to keep the life support systems stable. The Draconians had ordered all power reduced, which threatened the cryostasis pods. "We need more power to the medical bay," he told Captain Simmons. "The temperature in the pods is rising. If it goes above 3 degrees, we risk brain damage to the sleepers." Captain Simmons nodded grimly. "Divert emergency power from the secondary systems. Keep those pods stable at all costs." A loud clang echoed through the ship. The communications officer's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, the Draconians are docking. They're coming aboard. All crew, remain calm and cooperative," Simmons ordered. "Remember, we have 500 families depending on us." 7 Draconian soldiers marched onto the Horizon, weapons ready. Their leader, Officer Krell, scanned the humans with obvious disdain. "Your ship will be searched thoroughly," he announced. "Any resistance will be met with force. Take us to your data center." The ship-wide alarm shattered the moment. Greg rushed to the comm panel. "Hansen to bridge. What's happening?" "All personnel to emergency stations," came the strained voice of Captain Simmons. "We have detected multiple vessels approaching at high speed. Unknown configuration." On the bridge, the crew watched in growing horror as 3 massive warships appeared on their screens, moving with predatory grace toward the Horizon. "Incoming transmission," reported Communications Officer Ben Reeves. The main screen flickered, revealing the scaled face of a Draconian officer. "Human vessel," the alien said in heavily accented English. "You have illegally entered Draconian-protected space. Prepare to be boarded for inspection and judgment." "This is Captain Laura Simmons of the civilian colony ship Horizon," she replied, keeping her voice steady. "We are unarmed and carrying families seeking peaceful settlement. Our presence in this sector is due to a navigation malfunction." The Draconian's vertical pupils narrowed. "Your excuses are irrelevant. Power down all systems immediately or face destruction." As the crew scrambled to comply, Commander Wright's swift messenger dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. Seeing the Draconian warships surrounding the colony ship, she immediately opened communications. "Draconian vessels, this is Commander Allison Wright of Earth Defense Fleet. The ship you have surrounded is a civilian transport under my government's protection. I request peaceful dialogue to resolve this misunderstanding." There was a long pause before the Draconian responded. "Your request is acknowledged, Earth Commander. You may approach and dock with our command vessel for discussions. Any hostile action will result in the immediate destruction of the colony ship." Allison turned to her crew. "Prepare for docking, and send an encrypted message to Earth Command. Priority Alpha." The diplomatic mission had just become far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. The colony ship Horizon drifted through the starlit void, its massive engines humming with steady power. Inside, 500 families slept in cryostasis, while the crew maintained their year-long journey to New Haven, Earth's newest colony world. Greg Hansen checked the life support readings one more time before heading back to his family's quarters. As an engineer, he had volunteered for a mid-journey wake cycle, working 2 months while most passengers remained frozen. His shift was nearly over, and soon he would rejoin his wife Kate and daughter Lily in cryosleep for the remainder of the trip. "All systems normal, Hansen?" asked Captain Laura Simmons as they passed in the corridor. "Yes, Mom. Running at optimal efficiency." Greg smiled. "Just looking forward to seeing my family again, even if it's just to go back to sleep." Captain Simmons nodded. 3 more days. I heard your little girl drew pictures for the whole crew before launch." "That's Lily. Never met a stranger she couldn't charm." Pride warmed Greg's voice. At 8 years old, Lily was already showing her mother's intelligence and her grandfather's artistic talent. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Navigation Officer Frank Garcia frowned at his display. "Captain to the bridge," he called over the comm system. "We have an anomaly." When Captain Simmons arrived, Garcia pointed to the sensor readings. "We've drifted off course. According to stellar mapping, we're in an unmapped sector approximately 12 light-years from our planned route." "How is that possible?" Simmons demanded. "The navigation system has triple redundancies." "Unknown, Captain. But there's something else." Garcia lowered his voice. "We're picking up artificial signals. I think we're in someone else's territory." Aboard Earth's diplomatic vessel Swift Messenger, Commander Allison Wright received the emergency transmission from the horizon. She immediately called Admiral Daniels. "The colony ship is completely off course," she explained. "They'd somehow entered the disputed zone between Draconian territory and the Mechthar Collective." "How the hell did they end up there?" Daniels asked, his face grim on the video screen. "Unknown, sir. Possible navigation system failure. Or," she hesitated, "or external interference. Either way, we need to get them out. Take the Swift Messenger and establish contact. Recommend safe passage back to Earth space. And if the Draconians have detected them." The Admiral's face hardened. "Then you're authorized to attempt diplomatic resolution. The Horizon is a civilian vessel with families aboard. Make that very clear." In his quarters, Greg Hansen sat on the edge of Lily's bed in their small family cabin. Though she remained in cryosleep, the pod's clear top let him see her peaceful face. Her dark curls framed rosy cheeks, and her small hand clutched the stuffed dolphin she refused to freeze without. "Just a few more days, sweetheart," he whispered. "Then Mom and I will wake up with you on our new home." "High Commander, our long-range scouts have detected unusual activity near the star humans call Epsilon Eridani. It appears to be a small colony." Zellweger examined the report with mild interest. Humans were a curious species, primitive in many ways yet advancing quickly. They had maintained a policy of non-interference, developing their handful of colonies quietly. "How large is this settlement?" "Approximately 12,000 individuals. Minimal defenses. They appear to be primarily researchers and agricultural workers." The High Commander dismissed the report with a flick of his clawed hand. "Continue observation, but take no action. Humans are not yet worth our attention." His advisor, the aged Krevval, stepped forward hesitantly. "If I may, High Commander, our studies of human history suggest caution. They appear docile until threatened, then display surprising aggression." Zellweger laughed, a harsh sound that made junior officers flinch. "All species fight when cornered, but humans have seen what happens to those who resist us. When the time comes, they will submit like all others." Krevval bowed and retreated, but his eyes showed doubt. He had studied humans more carefully than his commander. They were dangerous, not because of their technology or numbers, but because they reacted to fear differently than any species the Draconians had encountered. In her office, Allison Wright added her final assessment to her report. "Recommend continued avoidance of direct contact with Draconian forces while accelerating defense preparations for all human settlements." She didn't add her personal belief that conflict with the Draconians was inevitable. Some lines would eventually be crossed. And when that happened, the Draconians would learn that humans were not like the others. The massive Draconian warship cut through space like a knife, its dark hull absorbing starlight rather than reflecting it. Inside the command center, High Commander Zell Vakir watched the holographic display with cold satisfaction. Another world had bent to Draconian rule. Another species now lived in fear of his people's wrath. The Tellarites have surrendered completely, High Commander reported Sub-Commander Nexel. Their defense fleet is destroyed, and their leaders beg for mercy. Zellvaker's scaled lips curved into what passed for a smile among his kind. Show them our version of mercy. Execute one leader from each major city. The rest will fall in line. As you command. Nexel bowed and retreated, his footsteps echoing on the metallic floor. For 30 cycles, the Draconians had expanded their empire through the stars. Their technology was advanced, their military disciplined, but their true power came from fear. Zellvaker had perfected the art of ruling through terror, break a species' will through selective brutality, and controlling billions required only minimal resources. 12 star systems now trembled at the mention of Draconians. Soon, it would be 13. Far away, on the edge of explored space, Commander Allison Wright of the Earth Defense Fleet watched the Tellarites surrender through encrypted intelligence feeds. Her office aboard the orbital station Artemis was small, but private enough for such classified viewings. "Computer, save and encrypt this footage," she said, pushing a strand of brown hair from her face. "Add it to the Draconian Tactical Assessment file." Allison had spent 8 years monitoring the Draconians. Earth had become aware of alien civilizations nearly 3 decades ago, but had chosen a path of cautious neutrality. While officially appearing to be a minor power with limited space capabilities, Earth had secretly built substantial defenses and gathered intelligence on potential threats. The Draconians were at the top of that list. A soft chime announced an incoming call. Admiral Peter Daniels' weathered face appeared on her screen. "I assume you've seen the Tellarite situation," he said without preamble. "Yes, sir. Standard Draconian tactics. They'll establish control quickly, and their path of expansion brings them closer to our territory." Allison nodded. "Based on their pattern, I estimate we have 8 months before they become aware of our colony in the Epsilon system." The Admiral's expression remained neutral, but Allison noted the tightening around his eyes. "The Council needs updated risk assessments. What's your evaluation of Draconian capabilities versus our own?" "On paper, their technology exceeds ours by approximately 20 years. Allison replied carefully. "Their energy weapons and shield systems are particularly advanced. However," she paused. "Speak freely, Commander." "They fundamentally misunderstand humans, sir. Their entire strategy relies on fear breaking their opponent's will to fight. When fear becomes desperation, humans don't break. We push back harder." Admiral Daniels allowed himself a small smile. "That's why you're our best xenopsychologist, as well as a fleet commander." On the Draconian command ship, an intelligence officer approached Zell Vaker with a data tablet.